Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Chris, and welcome to LinuxTechGeek. So today, I was wanting to do a video on Void Linux. Now, this is going to be a first impressions video. I've never used Void. I've only been to the website, and I downloaded their ISO. But the reason I was wanting to check out Void is because it is a very minimal Linux distribution. It's sort of like Gentoo that it expects you to install the software that you want to use, and that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to check out this distribution. It's kind of new, and I don't know, honestly, I don't know why I haven't checked it out sooner. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and flip over to the desktop here, and we'll talk about Void. Now, we are on the Void Linux website. So, first off, the front page here says that it's a stable rolling release. If you're a stable, it's either you're stable or you're rolling release. That stable rolling release mantra that they have on their website, I really don't believe that. And that's simply because when you're a rolling release, typically packages break a lot faster than if you're on a stable branch. So I do want to go ahead and mention that, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the void packages or anything like that, but I'm just saying that typically in most Linux distributions, if you're a rolling release, that means you're on the bleeding edge or you're on the cutting edge of packages, and sometimes those packages are not the most stable. But with all that being said, let's look at the package manager here, and this is one of the biggest features of Void Linux, is that it has its own separate package manager. So it doesn't use Portage, it doesn't use apt, it doesn't use Pacman. It uses this XBPS, and this package manager is really cool because unlike most package managers where it's just one giant application, this package manager is like many little applications, and they have it split up into like these little modular packages, and I think that's really neat. We'll check that out though. And then the other final thing here is on our front page, they use the Run It system. Now, most Linux distributions these days run systemd. Gentoo uses OpenRC, but yeah, Run It is just a different way to manage the init system. So that's pretty cool. We will check that out. And I haven't done a lot of research into the Run It system, so I don't know if that's brand new. I don't know if it's old. I think it's an old thing, but they seem to use it, and it seems to work. So go over here to the download page, and you have a couple choices when you go to download this thing. You can get the base system. Now, the base system is just going to throw you in a TTY, or you can get their flagship edition, and that's the edition that I personally downloaded, which is their XFCE edition. And then you have a couple of different choices between getting a live image with glibc or a live image with MUSL. Now, I don't know the difference between glibc and MUSL. I think it has something to do with how the compiler works, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Also, just a quick note that if you do install the XFCE edition, that when you go to install this thing, you want to pick the local install option, not from network. And now, if you're using the base system, then you can install it from the network, and it will download all the newest updates and everything. But just remember that if you are using XFCE, you want to do the local install. Also, if when you su into root, the password is void Linux right here. So it says you can log into these images as anon or as root, and the password is void Linux. So, with all that being said, let's go ahead and check out void Linux. And yeah, I have a virtual machine spun up here. As you can see, I've already set everything up. We just got to hit the begin install. Now, for this void machine right here, I did give it. Let me move this. Trying to think about where to move that so we can get a full screen here. So with this, I did give it. I think I gave it 6. I gave it 6 threads and then 8 gigs of RAM. So we should have plenty of resources here. Okay, we got network set up. Let me go ahead and set the screen resolution for you guys. Make this a little bit easier to read. So display 1920 by 1080 here. Okay. Go ahead and open a terminal. Let me zoom in for you guys a little bit. So, in order to get into root, you need to do the su command. So it's su, and then it's going to ask you for a password. The password is, of course, void Linux. Now, this is the su or sh shell prompt. I'm not a huge fan on sh, so let's change this to bash. So now we got root. Okay, so now the way to install this thing is we have to type in void -installer. Now, this is not going to be a Calamari's installer. This is not going to be a graphical installer. This install uses the terminal. So we are going to be using the terminal in this. But enter the void. Welcome to void Linux. The installer should be pretty straightforward. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our keyboard. So we're just going to select US here because we're in the US. If we just keep hitting U, it should go to US for us right there. Next, we're going to set up our network. We should have a network connection according to Network Manager at the top there. Network is working properly. We need to set the source. Now remember, because we're using XFCE, the source is going to be local, not network. So we select local. Okay. Host name. What we want the host name to be? Well, I'm just going to say Vert Void. It don't matter. The locale. Any locale. Now we want English UTF-8. English US. I passed it up there. Right there. English US UTF-8. Time zone. So let me select my time zone. In the US. And we'll say Kentucky, Louisville. Now we need to set up the root password. Remember, we don't have sudo or even do as. We have to su every time we want to get into root until we install those applications. So for root, we're going to set a complicated password. User account. So this is going to be the user that we typically log in as. So It's going to ask for a username for login Chris. I'm going to use Chris. Okay. Password. Long and complicated password. Now it's going to ask us what groups do we initially want to be in. Very important. If you guys are not familiar with how the SU command works, you cannot SU from a normal user into root unless you're in the wheel group. The wheel has to be selected. It has to be, or you're not going to be able to SU. Okay, so we're going to keep that 100%. Now, it has floppy here. No one uses floppy drives anymore. I'm going to get rid of that. We do want the audio group. We do want the video group. Okay. CD-ROM and optical. I'm pretty sure these are about the same thing. I'm going to keep them, but honestly, if this was on my physical machine, I'd probably get rid of it. I'll take KVM simply because I am in a virtual machine, and we'll do plug dev, and we'll keep ourselves in the users group. Now I don't know what Xbuilder is. Well, that's looks good. Yeah, we'll just set that. Now the bootloader. So for my device, I gave it 30 gigs, and this is telling the install where we were going to put grub. So right there, use a graphical terminal for the bootloader. Yeah, we like graphics. Partition scheme. This is the hard drive or the virtual hard drive. So we select it. Now we can use fdisk or we can use cfdisk. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use cfdisk. It's a little bit easier to use. I'm also using EUFI on this, and there's a couple of different things that we have to do. So let's select it. So it pretty much says for EFI systems, GPT is mandatory. And the mount point has to be boot EFI. So that's something we have to remember. And we have to give it at least 100 megabytes. I typically give it like 1 gig just to be safe. But we have to remember boot EFI. That's the big thing. So GPT. Okay. We're going to do new. We're going to do 1 gig. Now we're going to give, we'll do 4 gigs of swap. Okay. And the rest is just going to be root. Okay. Now for the type, this one's going to be swap. We can keep this one the same. But the first one, remember, this is the EFI thing. We're going to do type, and I'm going to do EFI system. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I feel like it does. That's typically how I always do it. Okay, we write that. We quit file system. So we're going to do the first one. Now remember, the file system for the EFI system has to be FAT32. So we selected the file, we select VFAT. And now the mount point has to be boot /boot EFI. Just like that. Do I want to create a new file system? Yes, I do. Okay. Now the second one is going to be swap. Yep. And the third one, we're going to do extends 4. And the mount system is going to be root. Just like that. Create a new one. Yep. Done. Install. It's going to warn us that it's going to format the disk and all that stuff. That's fine. We want it to do that. It's copying the live image. And if we did everything correct, this should be the only thing that we have to do. Um, Now, I don't know how fast this installer goes or anything, um, so I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll bring you guys back when this thing gets done. Okay, well, it installed relatively fast, like super fast, actually. Um, yeah, so let's reboot the system. It's gonna reboot. That was it. That was super, super quick. Okay, here's void. Wow. That boot up time is, that boot up time is extremely, extremely nice. I've got to admit, that was pretty fast. That's probably even faster than my actual physical machine. Um, let me set the screen resolution here, 1920 by 1080. Okay, let's update this system though, because this is probably the ISO is probably a little old here, and I want to get the newest packages installed. But first, let's look at the kernel that it comes with. It comes with the 5.19.10 kernel. So I know at the top of my head, I know that the 6.1 kernel is out. The I'm actually running the 6.2.3 kernel, I believe, on my physical machine right now. But yeah, let's update this thing, because why not? Let me get into root here. Okay, and remember I said the package manager was called XBPS, and if we do a tab, okay, so it has a XBPS install. Let's see what that does. So we have to give it some flags here. Okay. So we have automatic, download, check integrity. We can do a dry run, I guess, if you just want to see what it was going to install. I see something called sync. So let's try to sync the repository, maybe? Okay. Now let's do a U for update, maybe. Okay, so it's telling us that we need to update the actual package manager itself, because that's an actual package. Okay. So it's going to install these. Pretty quick. Now let's try manage U without doing the XBPS to see if it installs, if it updates the system. And it looks like it will. So I don't know how many packages this is. Looks like quite a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video again while this installs, and then I'll bring you guys back after it gets done. All right. Well, it looks like it downloaded, installed, 247 packages downloaded, 240 packages updated, which is pretty crazy. But let's go ahead and reboot the system here, because we do want the newest packages. Go to void. Man, I can't get over that install. I mean that boot up time. It's faster than my system, which is crazy. So go ahead and fire up a terminal here. Yeah, and we're running the 6.119 kernel. That's not too bad. let's go ahead and install Alacrity. I don't like this XFCE terminal. Alacrity. Okay. We have Alacrity installed. Get root again, bash. All right, cool. Let's just keep this open up here. All right, so let's look at the menu system real fast, and then we'll look at some default wallpaper, see what comes with the default here in Void. So of course we got XFCE terminal. Under the accessories, we have application finder, bulk rename, mousepad, task manager. Look at resources real fast. Memory looks like about 610 meg. Not bad, but you also got to remember I'm running Alacrity, and Alacrity takes a little bit of memory. So development, we have nothing really. Graphics, we got the Risotto image viewer. Internet, we got Firefox. Good choice. Multimedia, we got the Parole Media Player. I've never used this. I've never even heard of this. Let's click it. All right, so it's typically just your typical movie player. Personally, I would have went with VLC, but maybe that's a little bit smaller, or MPV even. And then system, we got Alacrity, which we installed. So, and then Dinar. And then I don't know anything about XFCE or anything like that, but it comes with version 4.118. So that's not, yeah, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Does it come with? I wonder if it comes with Vim or Vim installed. It does not install Vim by default. Bad, bad, bad. And so install, does it got NeoVim? Okay, you can install NeoVim. So it has Vim, or NeoVim rather, in Vim. Cool. 0.83, which I think is the newest one. Vim. Yeah, you can install Vim 9.0. That's the newest Vim. Okay. Is Xmonad in the repositories? Xmonad is in the repositories. Okay, that's kind of cool. Qtile. Qtile is also in the repositories. That's pretty awesome. Speaking of repositories, how do we search the repositories? Like, if we want to search a program, how do we go about doing this, right? So, is it going to be under install? I don't think so, because I don't see anything. Let's do XBPS. Okay, so I see a XBPS query. Typically, that's how you would do something like that, right? So let's run that. And this has its own like set of modes and stuff like that too, which is pretty neat. Okay, so if we look at this flag right here, capital R, and it says enable repository mode. This mode explicitly looks for packages in repository. Okay. And then we can do the S flag also to search for a package? Let's try that. So if we want to search for a package, any package we want, we'll do RS, right? And then we'll do I don't know. X. No, we already did X monad. How about I3 gaps? I3 gaps right there. How about I3? And it shows us, okay. And it shows us everything to do with I3. So it's got I3 blocks, I3 cat, I3 status, I3 WSR. I don't know what that is. Got sway. That is pretty neat. That's pretty neat, and that's pretty much how you would look at to see if there's a package that you could install. Kind of think of a knowing plasma. Plasma should be in here, right? And it does use the 5.27.2 plasma stuff. That is pretty cool. So it is I mean, it's pretty up to date. Now I don't know. Let's do plasma desktop, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, it is pretty up to date. I don't know how stable it is or anything, but it does have it in the repository. One more thing I want to look at. Well, actually, two more things. Let's look at wallpaper. I want to see what their default wallpaper is, and then I want to look at the init system, because that's one of the biggest things about Void Linux too, is the init system. So, desktop settings. Actually, I'm gonna minimize this here. Look at some of these wallpapers. So we have this one, which that one's kind of whatever. That one's cool, but it's just too much, right? I like this one. I really, really like this one. I like it's minimalist. Got a nice color to it. Pretty much it. I can see what they're doing with the flowers and stuff. Kind of looks like flowers to me. That's too much. I'm not big on gradient. I do like this. It's nice and dark. It's not too flashy or anything, so we might keep this. And the next thing I want to do, get on Void Linux's website here. I want to look at the init system. So we run it as the init system and service supervisor. Okay. Services and daemons. Run it. Okay. Let me think of a program. Then you know what? Let me think of a program real fast that might use something like this. I bet we could get Vert Manager, right? Because Vert Manager uses something like this because you want your lib Vert D to load at boot time. So maybe we can try that. Now we might have to play around with this. I haven't done it yet, so do want to see how this works. So I guess first we need to install it. I'm assuming here. So lib, well, we can do Burt Manager, right? That's what I would use, Burt Manager. So Burt Manager is in here. Okay. We'll install it first. And I guess we're gonna need to check it, make sure it does run and everything. Make sure we don't have to install anything else along with it. Burt Manager, okay. Could not detect a default hypervisor. Make sure the appropriate QEMU or KVM. Okay, okay. So it's griping because it needs one of these packages. All right, that's fine. QEMU, right? QEMU. Pretty sure that's it. Okay. So I'm gonna let it install this. Okay. Now let's run it again. Make sure it runs. Okay. Unable to connect. Okay, I've seen this error before because I've messed around with virtual machines. It's pretty much, it's griping us because the configuration file and plus the daemon is not running in the background. So, or the service rather. Let's look at how to get something like this started. All right, so it says Void Linux provides service directories for most daemons in etcsv. Okay, so let's check this. So it looks like it wants to make a symbolic link to some directory. That's kind of how we do this. So we do etcsv, and there is a libvirtd. And that's the one we need. That's the service, and we need to. It says trace and link to the service directory in, okay, if the system is not currently running, the service can be linked directly. Okay, but we're just gonna link it to the service. So it's bar service. Okay. All right, so it says this will automatically start the service once. Okay. Well, how do we start the service? Okay. SV up service. So SV up libvirtd. Start. Didn't get an error, so which is good. Okay, so this is because of policy kit and everything. So we could get rid of this username and password stuff if we edit the config file. But we can right now we can just type in our password. And not type it in right. It's connecting. Oh, it connected. Cool. Yeah. And now, if I wanted to do a virtual machine, I just go and make a virtual machine as normal. Question. Will the service start at boot time? Because that's really what we want, right? That's why we make a service, because we want it to boot up every single time. So what we can do is we'll reboot once again. Okay. We'll start up Burt Manager here. Says it's not connected. No active connections. Can we connect? Okay. So we have to right click on it to connect. It doesn't connect automatically. That's more than likely because of the configuration file, though. And there we go. So the service does actually boot up at start time. We just haven't edited the virtual machine configuration file. That's probably the reason it is griping, but we can see services. I was trying to type in my actual root password there. So we can do sv lib or no sv status libvirt. Okay. So it looks like it is actually running there. Pretty cool. Pretty easy. Kind of weird how you have to symbolic link everything, but you know, every service has its own little niche of how it handles things. And yeah, that's our initial impression of Void Linux. I really like it. I like how fast it is. I mean, I'm serious. It booted up faster than my own physical machine, which is crazy because I have a really, really beefy machine. But yeah, the package manager seems to work pretty good. It's kind of different how the package manager is split up into modular parts rather than one giant package manager. But that's what makes it kind of unique. And it seems to be very, very minimum, and it has all the packages, honestly, that I would install. The only one I didn't check to see if I had is OBS, and it probably has OBS. If it has Xmonad, it probably has OBS. And there's something else on the website, and I think that you can get like a source based package manager type thing too. So we didn't play around with it, but maybe that's kind of like an AUR or a Void or something. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, or anything like that, you know what to do. Leave them down below. If you guys use Void or have used Void in the past, tell me what you guys think. What do you think about Void Linux? I can tell you what I like. I like it. I really, really like it. So we will be playing around with this in future videos because I plan on just doing some window manager stuff, and we'll probably be using this virtual machine. So until next time, I want you guys to take care, be safe, and peace. Bye, guys.